Pope Leo XIV has taken a step that has surprised the entire world of the Church. According to a report from the National Catholic Register, a leaked email reveals that the Pope intends to call an Extraordinary Consistory in January 2026. This is not a small event. It is something very rare in the life of the Catholic Church, something that only happens when a pope wants to discuss matters of great importance. The news has quickly spread across the Vatican and beyond, creating a wave of questions, hopes, and also a few worries among believers. The information does not come from rumors or anonymous sources. It comes from an actual message, a short communication sent to the Cardinals on November 6 and obtained by the Register. The document was written by the Vatican's Secretariat of State. In it, the Secretariat explains that His Holiness Pope Leo XIV intends to summon all the cardinals for an extraordinary meeting, and that further details will soon be given by the Dean of the College of Cardinals. This short message has caused a long echo. The Pope has not yet made an official public statement. Neither the Holy See Press Office nor any Curia department has confirmed or denied the report. Still, the simple word extraordinary has been enough to capture the world's attention. It suggests that something serious and significant is being planned behind the quiet walls of the Vatican. Observers around the world are asking, why now? Why so soon? Pope Leo XIV has been in his ministry for only a short time. To call all the world's cardinals together in an extraordinary consistory is not a normal thing to do so early. The word extraordinary is not used lightly in church language. It means that the topic is of global importance, something that could touch the faith, the governance of the church, or the direction of doctrine. Many are now wondering if this might be the beginning of something even larger, perhaps the start of discussions that could lead, one day, to a Third Vatican Council. Such an idea may sound bold, but it is already being whispered in some Vatican corridors. The Second Vatican Council, which ended more than 60 years ago, changed many things in the life of the Church. If there were to be a third one, it could open another major chapter in Catholic history. Pope Leo XIV has so far shown himself to be calm, discreet, and thoughtful. He is known for his quiet strength and for his desire to bring unity rather than division. Yet this decision to hold an extraordinary consistory hints that he may also be ready to act firmly when needed. Some see in this move a sign that he wants to set a new rhythm for the Church, one that is more open, more collegial, but also more decisive. His predecessor, Pope Francis, often preferred smaller meetings, known as synods, which focused on specific topics. He avoided gathering all the cardinals together in one place. Pope Leo XIV seems ready to change that. By restoring this older form of discussion, the consistory, he signals a wish to bring back broader debate and collective discernment. It is a break with recent practice, and therefore it naturally draws attention. The last few decades in the Church have been marked by both growth and tension. The Second Vatican Council of the 1960s brought new life and new energy, but it also left many questions open. Some groups felt that the changes went too far, while others believed they did not go far enough. For that reason, the very mention of a possible Third Council stirs deep feelings. To some, it represents hope, a chance for renewal, for clarity, for healing. To others, it awakens fear, the worry that old divisions could return or new ones could appear. Pope Francis once said,
in a 2023 interview that the Church was not yet ready for another council. But under Pope Leo XIV, the tone seems to be changing. Nothing has been confirmed, but the fact that he is willing to gather the cardinals so early in his papacy makes people think that something bigger may be on the horizon. The Church moves slowly, and the Vatican never acts without long preparation. If this extraordinary consistory does lead toward a council, it will not happen overnight. There would be months, maybe years of discussion. First, the cardinals would meet. Then theologians would form commissions. Only later, if the Pope sees that the time is right, would a formal announcement be made. That is the way the Church works, prudently, step by step, guided by both faith and reason. Still, even the first step can carry great meaning. When a pope calls the cardinals to Rome, he is not only seeking advice, he is also sending a message to the world, to the bishops, and to the faithful. He is saying that the Church must reflect, must pray, must discern. And sometimes that reflection can lead to great change. The news of the planned consistory has also brought to light some other actions of Pope Leo XIV that show the broader direction he is leading.
Might be taking. One of these clues comes from Brazil, where the Pope recently sent a message through Cardinal Pruin to the International Climate Conference known as COP30. In that message, he spoke not only about protecting the environment, but also about the need for what he called a new international financial architecture centered on humanity. Those are big words, and they have sparked debate. Some hear in them an echo of United Nations language about global cooperation, sustainability, and justice. But Pope Leo XIV's message gave those ideas a moral and spiritual foundation. He spoke of ecological conversion, meaning not just caring for nature, but changing the way human society treats both creation and people. He suggested that the world's economy should serve humanity, not dominate it. That finance should be a tool of justice, not a weapon of greed. This approach has drawn attention because it touches the heart of global power, the economy, politics, and social justice. For centuries, the Church has tried to keep a careful balance between spiritual teaching and social involvement. It has spoken out about justice, but always from a position of faith, not politics. Now, Pope Leo XIV seems to want the Church to speak again with moral strength on global issues, especially those that affect the poor and the planet. Some observers see this as a bold step, an attempt to make the Church once again a voice of conscience in the modern world. Others worry that by entering into debates about global finance, the Church might risk losing focus on its main mission, the salvation of souls. It is a delicate line to walk. The Pope's defenders say he understands this balance, that he wants to guide the world toward moral renewal without surrendering the Church's spiritual identity. The Pope's message from Brazil fits with his broader vision. For months, he has spoken about climate justice, about a new pact between peoples and creation. He often uses the phrase ecological conversion, but in his mouth it has a deeper meaning than environmental activism. It is about changing the human heart, teaching people to see creation as a gift, not as a resource to exploit. He wants to link faith, morality, and responsibility for the earth. Some theologians see in this language a continuation of the ideas of Pope Francis, who also spoke of integral ecology. But under Leo XIV, the tone has become more direct, more practical, even strategic. He talks about reforming systems, financial, political, and social, so that they reflect the dignity of the human person. In that sense, he is not only a pastor,
but also a reformer. Not everyone is comfortable with this. In traditionalist circles, questions are being asked. Can the Church, whose main mission is spiritual, take part in designing new global economic models? Could such involvement blur the line between faith and politics? Might it lead people to think that salvation comes from social reform rather than from Christ? These are serious questions, and they echo debates that have been going on since the Second Vatican Council. After Vatican II, some Catholics felt that the Church had become too focused on worldly issues, on dialogue and inclusion, and not enough on doctrine and worship. Others believed that the Church had finally opened its windows to the modern world. Now, with Pope Leo XIV, those two currents may meet again. His emphasis on moral leadership in global matters could bring both hope and controversy. If this extraordinary consistory is indeed the first step toward wider reflection, it could define his pontificate. It could also influence how the Church interacts with the modern world for decades to come. The Pope seems to understand that the Church cannot isolate itself from global challenges, but he also knows that it must not lose its soul in the process. The balance between these two truths is what makes his task so difficult and so important. Inside the Vatican, reactions are mixed. Some cardinals welcome the call, saying it will bring unity and open conversation. Others are cautious, fearing that too much openness could lead to confusion. Yet all agree on one thing: something unusual is happening. The Church, which often moves like a great ship turning slowly on the sea, seems to be preparing for a change of direction. Observers note that Pope Leo XIV's leadership style is very different from that of past popes. He does not seek attention, but when he acts, he does so firmly. His speeches are calm, but his decisions carry weight. He listens, but he also decides. Many describe him as a man who combines humility with inner strength. In that sense, this extraordinary consistory may be his way of setting the tone for his papacy, showing that he wants the Church to think deeply, to act wisely, and to stay united. The Vatican has always seen time differently from the rest of the world. Governments, media, and businesses live in cycles of months or years. The Church lives in centuries. Every gesture, every word from a pope is part of a long conversation that crosses generations. When Pope Leo XIV speaks of ecological conversion or a new financial architecture, he is not just talking about today's problems. He is inviting the Church to look ahead, to imagine a future where faith and justice walk together. The reactions among the faithful also vary. Some Catholics, especially those who value tradition, feel uneasy. They worry that a third council might repeat the confusion that followed Vatican II. They fear that the Church could again become divided between progressives and conservatives. But others, especially younger Catholics, feel inspired. They see in the Pope's openness a chance to renew faith in a way that speaks to the modern world. This tension between continuity and change is not new. It has always been part of the Church's story. Every great council, from Nicaea to Trent to Vatican II, was born out of conflict and ended with renewal. Each time, the Church came out both changed and strengthened. Perhaps Pope Leo XIV believes that now is another such moment. Some theologians believe that if there ever were to be a Third Vatican Council, its themes would likely center on global issues: ecology, technology, artificial intelligence, migration, and the defense of human dignity. The Church would not abandon doctrine, but would seek to apply it to the new challenges of the modern age. Others think that such a council could also revisit unresolved theological questions from Vatican II about the liturgy, the role of the laity, and the relationship between tradition and modernity. Of course, all of this is speculation. For now, the only confirmed fact is that Pope Leo XIV intends to hold an extraordinary consistory in January 2026. But in the Church, symbols matter as much as facts. The gesture itself speaks volumes. It tells us that the Pope feels an urgency, that he sees something in the life of the Church or the world that requires the cardinals to come together. There are many reasons a Pope might call such a meeting. It could be to address governance, to reorganize the curia, or clarify certain policies. It could be to prepare new appointments, new directions in doctrine, or new pastoral priorities. It could even be to discuss the future relationship between faith and modern society. Whatever the reason, the fact that it is happening so soon means the Pope sees the need for collective discernment. As the date approaches, the world will watch Rome closely. Journalists will search for signs, theologians will analyze every word, and believers will pray. Within the Vatican, preparations will quietly unfold. The logistics of bringing together cardinals from every continent are complex, but the spiritual preparation is even greater. An extraordinary consistory is not a political summit. It is a gathering of prayer, reflection, and guidance by the Holy Spirit. Pope Leo XIV seems to understand that the Church cannot face today's global challenges alone. The climate crisis, social inequality, moral confusion, and technological change, all these things affect the faithful and humanity as a whole. By calling the cardinals together, he may be inviting the Church to rediscover its mission in a world that is rapidly transforming. As we reflect on these developments, we might remember that every pope faces his own historical moment. Pope Francis had to guide the Church through debates about reform and inclusion. Pope Benedict XVI dealt with questions of faith and reason. Pope John Paul II faced communism and globalization. Now, Pope Leo XIV faces a world that is connected, digital, and fragile, where faith must speak both to hearts and to systems. In his recent speeches, the Pope has often used the word conversion. It appears again and again: ecological conversion, moral conversion, social conversion. This word, so central to the gospel, suggests that change must begin inside each person. Before the Church can help renew the world, it must renew itself. That may be another reason for this consistory, to invite the cardinals, and through them the whole Church, to conversion. Inside the Vatican, some say that Pope Leo XIV is quietly shaping a new vision of the papacy, one that combines spiritual depth with moral courage. He does not seek to be a politician, but he understands that the gospel has social consequences. When he speaks of a financial architecture centered on humanity, he is echoing the old teaching that money must serve people, not the other way around. He is asking the world to see the economy not as an idol, but as a tool for justice. Whether the world will listen is another matter. Many governments and institutions may find his message uncomfortable, but that has always been the role of the Church, to speak truth even when it challenges the powers of the age. In this sense, Pope Leo XIV stands in continuity with the prophets and saints who called for justice, peace, and faithfulness throughout history. As the months go by, the Church will prepare for January 2026. The cardinals will study the issues, theologians will write reflections, the faithful will pray for wisdom. Whatever happens, this event will be remembered as a sign that the Church is alive, thinking, and ready to face its mission anew. Pope Leo XIV's decision reminds us that the Church's history is not finished. It is a living story, guided by the Holy Spirit. Each generation must discern how to live the gospel in its own time. The Extraordinary Consistory of 2026 may well be one of those turning points when the Church pauses, listens, and prepares for the next chapter in its long journey. As believers, we can look at these developments with both curiosity and faith. Curiosity because we want to understand what is happening in our Church.